Game theory, baby. Learn the science of game theory. And I want to make it very fun for you to start. Watch the movie with, it's called, it's on game theory. It's about Nash. It's called, is it not Theory of Everything? What is this fucking? Beautiful Mind, thank you. Theory of Everything, Stephen Hawking. My mind is a little tired right now. It's late at night, and I'm on East Coast time while I'm here in California. So basically, in this book, in this movie, Russell Crowe is this scientist who goes a little cuckoo, and it's all about a true story of how he won a Nobel Prize for development of game theory. Now, game theory is a whole nother conversation. I should record 62 other videos to explain game theory, but here's the basics. You already kind of learned game theory in school. You just understand it. Remember this physics principle that they taught you? I don't think they mentioned this in Beautiful Mind, the movie that I recommend you watch, but I'll just update you. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. And this is where people mess up. So when you think very linearly or very you just see things very simply, you miss how the human brain works. So for example, always be closing. Well, if you call people too much, what happens? Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. It works on some people, but in the game of life, does one strategy always work? If you play soccer, does one kind of shot at the goal always work? No, you got to vary it up. When you play basketball, does it always work to shoot a three-pointer all the time? If you're the Houston Rockets a couple years ago, that's what they tried. And to me, it was too one-sided of a strategy. I don't know if you remember, Chris Paul got hurt. They're playing Golden State Warriors. I was going for Chris Paul's a friend, so I was going for the Rockets. He's out. They still almost win, but that last game, they shot like the most three-pointers in any playoff game. And I just didn't agree. I agree to disagree with their coach. I'm going, switch it up, baby. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. When you always shoot three-pointers, you become predictable. Think about football. American football, for those of you not from America, gridiron. If you always throw the ball, the defense adjusts the game. So they spread out and they don't have as many people on the line. They have people in the back. It's predictable, and so it stops working. So you have to run the ball up the center, or you have to do a variety of plays to throw people off. So when it comes to sales and persuasion, kind of one of the overall things I hope you take away from this free brief training and podcast video thing is that the real way and the real science is that there is no one thing that works. And this freaks people out. People always come to me, they go, Tai, what is the one book? What is the one book that will ensure my success? Well, I say, you need to watch Beautiful Mind and understand game theory. If the game of life was so simple, that one book would answer all your questions, guess what? Homo sapiens would not be the dominant force. We'd all be, we'd be part Neanderthal. But humans were able to outthink Neanderthals. In fact, if you do your 23andMe or Ancestry DNA, all of us have a little Neanderthal still in us, because it's not too long ago that Neanderthals were kind of our cousins on Earth. And so why did Homo sapiens become the dominant form? Well, I don't know the exact reasons. I'm not an anthropologist. My grandma is actually. I'm not an evolutionary expert, but I will tell you, talking to those experts, in great part, in fact, if you read the book, Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene, one of the first kind of books that brought this evolutionary psychology and biology to the masses, along with a guy named Trivers, and all these great people are still alive. I got to interview Dawkins, fascinating guy. It's because humans understood game theory better. We knew that we had to switch it up. We knew that what worked when we lived in Africa did not work when we migrated to Asia or migrated to Europe, North Europe. We began to have to adapt to win the game. And so for those of you coming into this video and you're like, you know what, what's the one thing that's going to be great at sales? You know, I'm friends with Wolf of Wall Street. You know, what's the one way to sell this pen? Sell me this pen. Sell me this pen. You're on the wrong track, baby. You're always going to get, my sales guy's going to destroy you if we ever call the same client, because I'm training them to be black belts in adaptability, and not saying what's the one way to sell the pen, but what's the one way for that person to be persuaded to buy that pen. Because and know that it can change in mid-conversation. If you become too practical, I'll give you an example. Just a practical example. Going back to that deal I told you that my lawyer couldn't close, that I stepped in and closed. If I had been too emotional, I knew he was emotional and concerned about taxes. If I had stressed the word fear too much, I might have made him think of a whole new set of fears that he didn't have. For example, I could have ruined that deal by like, you know what? I totally get it. You're afraid of tax. You're afraid of your, you know, but boy, it could be worse. Your property tax on the new place you buy might be way higher than it is here. And all of a sudden, by me playing the game of fear too much, I destroy the deal, because all of a sudden he goes, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that. I'm looking, because he was looking to move to another state. Let me call and let me talk to my attorney in the other state and be like, are my taxes going to go up? Maybe I should just stay where I am. Maybe I should just take this place off the market. So when you become too one-sided, when you only have one hammer and you're always using that tool over and over, all of a sudden it begins to backfire on you. When you're playing soccer and you always come on the right-hand side. When you're playing football and you always throw Hail Marys. When you're playing basketball and you always post up the same person and throw it in the right low post, all of a sudden the defense begins to adapt and it doesn't work anymore. So always remember, nothing works all the time. Be like water. Be like water, and you will have tremendous success in persuasion, sales, closing, and negotiation.